Hi everyone, Corey here from Team Cramer Fishing, and today we're going to talk about coolers. Specifically, I want to talk about the Coleman 40-quart Iceless cooler. As you can see, this cooler, as you can see from all the marks and dings and dirt and grime on this cooler, we've had it for a long time. It's probably seen about 5 years of use now. And what's unique about this cooler, especially for family travel, is that it doesn't use ice. You take it and as you're traveling down the road, you plug it in with this guy into a cigarette lighter, and over time it gets cool and it cools down all your stuff. Now the benefits of this are tremendous. When you don't have ice, your cooler can hold a ton of things, and I'll show you this with some of our actual stuff in it in a little bit when I move it out to the car. But basically, you can load this up with all kinds of drinks and food and keep it in your car as you're driving down the road with your family, and it keeps everything cool for you. Additionally, I use it as a divider between my kids so that it reduces the fighting down a little bit. So the other great part about this cooler is that it comes with an adapter. Let me set it down at the bottom here so we can see what's happening. So you take the cigarette lighter and you can plug it in here, and then the adapter can plug into the wall or any kind of outlet. So oftentimes we use this if we stay at a hotel that doesn't have a refrigerator. This cooler can sit upright just like a refrigerator. And also, a lot of our friends now that we go camping with have campers, and we don't. We sleep in a tent. But if we camp next to them at an electrical site, even though we don't have an RV, instead of buying ice, we can plug this cooler in, and over several days, it saves a ton of money on ice. This cooler is paid for itself, 10 times over easily. It costs about $90 at Walmart. It comes with the adapter. I made the mistake of, when I bought this, I bought an additional adapter, which it didn't need, so I ended up taking it back and getting a refund. Now, some of the downsides of the cooler are pretty obvious. If you don't have an outlet to plug it in, if you're camping, then your stuff isn't going to stay cold because there's no ice. So what we do in those situations is we take a 1-gallon Ziploc bag and put ice in it and set it in the cooler, and the cooler is very well insulated. So that's enough usually to keep things relatively cool for a day. And then the water, they don't recommend you put ice in this cooler, but the fan is about the electrical unit down here, the fan that blows the hot air out, it's a couple inches off the bottom. So if you get some condensation, if you get a little bit of leakage down there, it's not going to damage the cooler at all. We use that ice method several times. So to get the biggest utilization out of this cooler, I combine it with 2 other coolers. The second cooler that I use in conjunction with it a lot of times, especially when we're camping, but basically on any road trip, is a basic Rubbermaid 5-gallon cooler. And this is it's a really great safety device in your car when you're traveling with your family, because you can fill it with water, so you always have, if you get stranded. A lot of times we take back roads, or you get to this road where you want to go explore something, but you're having the kids in the car, and you don't want to put them at extra risk that maybe you might take if you were by yourself or with your friends, but you don't want to take with your family, knowing that you have this extra several days worth of water supply in most situations in your car, can give you that extra little security blanket, I guess, to go down those back roads and go out to those places that you might not otherwise go. The other really big benefit of this is if you do go camping in the summer, instead of filling it with water, if you buy about 20 pounds of ice, it can fill this to the top. And these are amazing coolers for ice. So when you seal the top on these, As the ice melts, you can then use it for water out of the spigot at the bottom. But if you needed the ice, like I mentioned earlier, to put a gallon's worth into your Iceless cooler to keep the things in there cool while you're camping, you can do that as well. And we've done that, and it works really, really great. So you can use it for ice or water. It's really just about perfect. Now this is a 5-gallon one. It works just about perfect for us, and I always make room for it in the SUV for a family of 4. You know, if there's only a couple people and maybe just 3 people, you could go down to a 3-gallon one and be just fine. And it would take up a little less space. So now the last cooler that we use in conjunction with all these is this is a free one that we got somewhere. It's like a 2-man in a truck. Any collapsible cooler, okay, will work. And these aren't they aren't very good coolers. I mean, maybe they make some really nice ones now. I don't know, I haven't done a ton of research on them. But what they allow you to do is, if you need to move any of this stuff from the cooler into your hotel, or we use this on the beach, or if we're camping and we have like a case of beer or something, we don't want to necessarily load our primary cooler up with it. We can just grab a bag of ice then and fill this cooler and then keep the beer in there, and it keeps it, you know, cold enough for a night. It's going to be melted in the morning. We also use it, like I said, at the beach. Anytime you need to transfer a few things without moving that entire big cooler around, having a collapsible one works great. And space is always very limited for us. So, I mean, this stuff's anywhere. You just chuck it in the back, put it under some suitcases, wherever, and yank it out whenever you need it. Okay, now I'm going to take you out to the car and show you what this looks like in the car. Okay, an additional way that you can save money is by bringing this water. You don't end up purchasing a lot of gas station, water, where you pay $1 for a bottle of water, and then, you have a plastic bottle that you have to get rid of. We just used those Nalgene 32-ounce quart-sized Nalgene containers, and I always keep this toward the very rear of the SUV, so when I pull the hatch up, even if I have a ton of stuff packed in here, I can just slide it forward and squirt out, whatever I want to get out of here, and then slide it back in. If I was really smart, I'd probably invent like a little hose to connect to the back of this, but it seems to work just fine. So I always keep this accessible and in the back for stops, picnics, emergencies, so I don't have to dig all the stuff out of the car that's not packed yet, but dig all of the stuff out of the car in order to use it. Okay, so here's how I store the cooler. I have one kid car seat, cooler, other kid car seat. And it works pretty well for keeping these guys from fighting with each other as we're going down the road. Now, as you can see here, I have it maybe 3/4 of the way packed full. I have a couple of those quart containers down there that usually one has milk, one has juice. Sometimes I have a third one kind of laying on top with water or, extra milk or juice or whatever. Half-gallon milk or half-gallon containers like orange juice or milk fit great when you have the shelf right here. I always leave a little clearance for the fan to run here. The objects that are up close to it generally get a little bit colder a little bit sooner than everything else. If you put everything in here warm like I just did, it takes a few hours for it to cool down. If you think you're going to want something, cold right away, you'll want to put it in the refrigerator first. Having said that, after a day's worth of driving, this can form ice in it. It gets cold enough to form ice, so like a thin layer of ice, not super duper icy. But so as you can see, I can fit 5 or 6 of these, very large 24 ounce, sorry. So each one of these is, the equivalent of 2 cans Diet Pepsis. Some energy drink down in the bottom there. Another 8 of those, 16 ounces. Some of these little double shot espressos to get us rolling in the morning and really to keep us out of the gas station. I buy this stuff by the case at Sam's Club, and they cost like, pennies each compared to gas station prices, easily 50%. So if you're, on a multi 2-week, even a week-long road trip, but this one's over 2 weeks, it ends up saving you, $100, $200, a lot of money. So the way this works is I can feel the fan here, and I feel it blowing. So it's plugged in and on right now. I have it plugged in just down under the dash there, but wherever your cigarette lighter is. There's 3 of them in this car. There's also one inside here. Sometimes we plug it in there. And just a couple more things I want to show you and talk about. Okay, so here it is plugged in. It has a little indicator light that shows that it's on, so you want to make sure that it's plugged in and on. I like to have it plugged in here so Heather can check it sometimes. I can also reach my hand back and feel the fan, which is convenient. You want to make sure when you put it in your car that you leave the fan side pointed out. And Heather can still reach back there and grab stuff when we need it, but you don't want that squished up against like the back of your car. The other thing is, if you are going camping, we're not on this trip, bring an extension cord. So that, because this isn't particularly long, this adapter, and you know, maybe your tent is quite a way away from wherever the campsite's electricity is. I even bring a power strip now, because usually we're charging batteries too. So power strip, extension cord, and you're pretty much all set. So on this trip, if you follow us, you'll see us using all these things in conjunction with one another, and it's a great way to save money. And you know, really it's just a lot more convenient. We have a lot of independence. You know, we can go pretty much wherever we want to go. We carry enough stuff for about a week, so even if we're not planning on it, we know we have it there if we need it, if something comes up. Thanks for watching. I will say one thing we did have happen, and we've had this cooler 5 years. We left it running I don't know, 3 or 4 days, and it was really hot outside, so it was running non-stop. And we were using the adapter here that plugs in to, you know, a standard outlet, and it did get hot enough to warp this plastic a little bit. Now it still works just fine, but it's something you can kind of see, it's kind of mangled there. So that's from, it got hot enough, you know, just running for 72 hours straight in hot weather to do that. So just be aware of that. You can, and we do this all the time, I should have mentioned it earlier, when we stay overnight at a hotel, I leave the cooler in the car and just leave it shut. Even on a hot day, it keeps everything cool all night. It's very well insulated and locks down. So you could keep it in there. You can go a whole day under, you know, 75-degree conditions, as long as you're not opening it, and it will stay plenty cold. So that's my review of the Coleman Iceless cooler. If you can pick one up under $100, it will easily pay for itself if you do, you know, 1 or 2 camping trips or 1 or 2 cross-country road trips. Thanks for watching. Corey with Team Cramer Fishing.